civil war in the UK is inevitable because no one's willing to talk about the problem now, which means this is just the first in many cycles of what will keep happening in the UK.
Katie Hopkins sparks controversy with bold comments about Keir Starmer. Okay, this one blew up fast. While most of the UK political world was busy dissecting the Prime Minister's latest speech, something else caught fire online, and it all started with one of Britain's most polarising commentators, Katie Hopkins. Hopkins, known for never holding back, made a statement about Labour leader Keir Starmer that's got both her critics and supporters in a frenzy. And honestly, it's one of those moments where you can't help but lean in and think, did she really just say that? Now, before we dive into exactly what went down, let's be clear, this isn't about promoting any side. It's about understanding why this moment hit such a nerve, and what it says about the deeper tension running through British politics right now. So here's what happened. Earlier this week, during a live podcast appearance, Katie Hopkins made what she described as her unfiltered take on Keir Starmer's leadership. The clip, short but explosive, went viral across social media within hours. She started by referencing what she called the great disappointment of modern British politics leaders, in her words, who don't stand for anything clear anymore. Then came the line that set the internet ablaze. When people look at Keir Starmer, they don't see conviction, they see calculation. That single sentence, just 11 words, was enough to flood Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok with reaction videos, commentary threads, and endless debates. Some viewers said, she's just saying what everyone's been thinking. Others slammed her for being disrespectful, calling it another example of Hopkins punching down instead of offering meaningful political critique. But whatever your opinion of her, there's one thing you can't deny: Katie Hopkins knows how to grab attention. Let's unpack why her comments landed like a thunderbolt. Keir Starmer, leader of the Labour Party, has spent the last few years carefully rebuilding his image, positioning himself as the calm, competent alternative to the chaos of recent governments. His approach has been methodical, even cautious. But that caution, that calculated tone, is exactly what Hopkins was pointing at. Her argument, stripped of all the controversy, was simple: that Starmer's strategy might win short-term political battles, but lose long-term public trust. In a political climate where people are hungry for authenticity, for leaders who speak plainly, not politically, that criticism hits a nerve. And it's not just Hopkins saying it. Even some within Labour have voiced quiet concerns that Starmer's safety-first image could make it harder to inspire real enthusiasm come election time. One anonymous Labour source told a local outlet, "He's solid, smart, reliable, but people don't rally around reliability. They rally around passion." Now, let's be real. For years, she's built a reputation as someone who thrives on saying what others won't, even when it costs her popularity. To her supporters, she's a truth-teller in a politically correct world. To her critics, she's an attention-seeker stirring outrage for clicks. And that's exactly why her words about Keir Starmer sparked such a reaction. Because whether you agree or not, Hopkins often says the quiet part out loud, the things politicians and journalists dance around. And this time, she touched a nerve at the very center of Britain's political divide. Starmer represents stability. Hopkins, unpredictability. Starmer speaks of unity. Hopkins thrives on disruption. It's the classic clash: order versus chaos, reason versus raw emotion. And in modern politics, that tension isn't just a background theme, it defines the whole show. Online, the response was a mix of shock, laughter, and fury. One tweet read, "Katie Hopkins calling Starmer calculated? The irony writes itself." Another said, "She's not wrong though, she is correct, everything about him feels scripted. Britain needs passion, not politeness." Comment sections under YouTube clips were overflowing. Some defended Hopkins, saying her bluntness is refreshing honesty. Others accused her of taking cheap shots instead of offering serious debate. Even mainstream media picked it up. A BBC radio panel discussed the controversy, with one commentator noting, "This shows how fragile the political conversation has become. One line from a commentator becomes a national talking point." And that's a fair point, because whether you love or loathe Katie Hopkins, her words get people talking. But here's what makes this story more than just a headline. It's not really about Hopkins, or even about Keir Starmer. It's about what the reaction says about us, the public, the media, and the political culture we're all living in. People don't just want leaders anymore. They want characters. They want conviction, emotion, even controversy, anything that feels real. The days of quietly competent politicians might be slipping away, replaced by those who can command attention in a world built on algorithms and outrage. And in that sense, Hopkins' viral comment wasn't just an insult, it was a mirror. A reflection of the frustration people feel toward leaders who seem too polished, too rehearsed, too careful. Still, Starmer's allies quickly hit back. A Labour spokesperson reportedly said, "Keir isn't here to play media games. He's here to rebuild the country with serious leadership and serious policies." Labour supporters pointed out that under his leadership, Labour has regained credibility and widened its polling lead. Proof, they argue, that the public prefers steady hands to soundbites. And that's the counterpoint. Maybe Hopkins' kind of political theater grabs headlines, but Starmer's steady approach might actually win elections. The question is, which matters more in 2025? Do voters want fireworks or results? As the debate rages on, one thing's certain, Hopkins knows how to stay relevant. Every time she speaks, she drags the conversation back to the one question politicians dread most: do people really believe you anymore? And for Starmer, that's the challenge ahead. Not just leading Labour to victory, but convincing Britain that he's more than a strategist, that he's a leader people can feel connected to. Because in today's world, logic might win the argument, but emotion wins the crowd. So, was Katie Hopkins out of line, or was she just saying what many quietly think? Either way, her words have reignited a national conversation about authenticity, leadership, and what kind of Britain people actually want.